My name is Meylysa. I'm an ESL teacher at the Drop-In Center, which is a school in Hawaii Literacy, a nonprofit organization in Hawaii. We have different programs, and our school is just one of many programs. And I'm here to teach a technique where you can teach beginner, intermediate students English by having them practice and memorize small conversations. So today's conversation is more for beginner students. I teach a beginner class most of the time, so I'm more skilled in beginner lessons. This technique is taken from the Oxford Picture Dictionary. I'm using their teacher's book, which I have to tell you is very good, but they have a new book out and I don't have the updated teacher's book, but this exercise I'm taking from the teacher's book. They have a conversation practice in the book. You don't have to have this book to do this practice, but it makes it a lot easier for me because I don't have to prepare a lot for class. I just go to class with my book and everything's already ready. I don't have to prepare. I just go open my book and I know what I'm doing, which is really nice if you're a teacher and you don't have a lot of time to prepare. So in this book, the conversation is written here. There's an A colon, and then it says, "Excuse me, do you have change for $1?" And then they underline $1. And then B colon, "Sure, here are 4 quarters." And 4 quarters they have in brackets. And then underneath that they have variations of the conversation. So instead of saying $1, you can say, "Excuse me, do you have change for $5? Excuse me, do you have change for $10? And so on, $20, $50. So what I do is I actually take the conversation from this book and I copy it on the board, just as it is. A colon, right, what they say, B colon, and then underneath the underlined $, I'll put in the variations so the class knows they can change $1 to $5 or $10. Okay, after I write this on the board and after the students have written it in their notebooks, we say it together as a class. So we say, I'll say it first, just like I just said it. "Excuse me, do you have change for $1? Sure, here are 4 quarters. Then I have the class say it with me. "Excuse me, do you have change for $1? And then the class says, "Excuse me, do you have change for $1? And then I say, "Sure, here are 4 quarters. And the class says, "Sure, here are 4 quarters. Alright? So you have them say it so that you know they can say all the words properly, their pronunciation's okay. You probably have them say it maybe, depending on how quick they are, 2 to 5 times, depending on the class. And then after that you ask them, "So do you have any questions? Do you understand the conversation?" So this conversation is pretty basic. It's not that hard to understand. "Do you have change for $1? And here are 4 quarters." And if you did the money lesson, the money vocabulary before you do the conversation, they already know what the words mean. But just in case, you can ask and make sure they understand. And I usually make sure every student understands. So if someone is looking at their book and they're not looking at me, I will call their name and ask them if they understand. And then after I feel confident everybody understands, then I have them pair up. So I will pair them in groups. I try to get people to pair so that I don't have 2 very weak students together, like a strong student and a weak student. I try to get students who speak different languages together, which may or may not be an option if you're teaching in a high school in a country you don't have this option. But I try to mix up the pairs so it's not always the same people talking to the same people. And I want to make sure that if one person doesn't understand it that well, the other person can help explain it to them. So you can pair up the students, you tell them to practice the conversation. Practice the conversation, both sides, A and B, and have them memorize it. So it's important. I like the conversations in this book because they're short, but they're good, short and sweet. They're what we actually say in real life. They're not long, but they're real English sentences that we actually do use So that's why I love this book. But anyway, I have them practice this until I memorize it. And then I will call each pair up to the front and they perform it and I erase the board first so they can't see the words, and then they come up and they perform it from memory. Now, if they do a really good job, you cheer and say, "Great job." You always clap when they come up, but if they don't do so good, then you probably can call them back up again. And if the whole class doesn't do good, then you have them all practice again and then all come up again until they got it. Now, I've taught many levels of beginners, and even I had a beginner today. She couldn't really read hardly anything. She couldn't speak anything. And yet she could memorize the conversation. She did know how to read a little bit, but she could memorize this small conversation in the class, during the class time. So most students can. In her case, we spoke Chinese and told her the meaning of it first, and then she could memorize it and say it. So if you don't have that option, it's more difficult, obviously. It's also difficult if you have someone who doesn't speak any English at all and their reading is rudimentary, so it'll depend on your level. But this exercise is very good for beginner students. It gives them the opportunity to practice good English sentences. It gives them the opportunity in class to take the time to memorize them, and it gives them the opportunity to perform it without the book so that they understand that when they go home, that's what they should be doing when they study. They should be learning sentence patterns and words and remembering them without their book because they have to learn them. So this is a very good classroom activity. I highly recommend it. If you want sentences, if you are teaching from the Oxford Picture Dictionary, I highly recommend getting their teacher's book. This one is good. I haven't looked at the new one yet. I'm still using this one. I am using the new book, but I'm using the old teacher's guide, the teacher's book, and it's been okay because the subject matter is pretty much the same. And their conversations in this book are really very, very good. I really am impressed with the way they've made their conversations. I hope you try this in your classes and it works for you like it works for us. Thank you and good luck with your English teaching. Bye-bye for now.